Hello ghouls and goblins, and welcome back to another video. Today we're in a slightly different spot. I'm going to be filming at my desk because we're doing a different kind of wrap up today. I've been really tired of just the typical wrap ups, and honestly, you guys saw a lot of these if you've already watched my vlogs, and so Cassidy had a great idea and suggested that I tier rank all of my spooky reads. And I think that that is a fantastic idea. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to tier rank all of my October reads. We're going to do it in some fun categories. This is going to be based purely on enjoyment. So you won't necessarily see them correlate to star ratings or anything like that, because this is just how much did I enjoy it? Did I have fun? Did I not have fun? So I think this is going to be really interesting. I have got my tier ranking set up, ready to go. And I've never done this before, so we're gonna see how it goes. Hopefully it goes well. And yeah, I think that that's all I've got to say. So let me just go ahead and share screen and we'll jump on into the video. Okay, so at the top we have 100% That Witch. These are just the books that really knocked it out of the park, that I super enjoyed this month and had the best time with. I can thank Beth A for a lot of these names because she was just like rocking them out. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna think about these. And then we have Fantastic, those that just weren't quite top tier, but they were absolutely one of my faves. Then we have What Is Not Saving and Should Have Been Kind of Ghoulish. I don't know why that is not wanting to show up or save on here, but should be Kind of Ghoulish in the third spot. And then we have Stiff as a Board. So these are just the really boring reads, the ones that just didn't work for me. And then on the last category, we have Boo You Books. And those are the ones that just really just bottom of the barrel on the enjoyment kind of on this month. So I guess without further ado, let's just jump into the books. So the first one we have Haunting of Rookwood House, and this is by Darcy Coates. I have been on a bit of a Darcy Coates kick, along with Lexi from Books with Lexi, and Kaylee from Kaylee's Books, and Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. That's a lot of names. I should have just said Kaylee, Lexi, and Cassidy. But we've been really reading a lot of Darcy Coates. Carol Hahn is actually the one that kicked it off this month. We read it for the officially unofficial Late Night Crew book club. But Haunting of Rookwood House. Read this one for my haunted house vlog. It's about a guy that did something unspeakable in his hometown, and so he really wants to get away. When his mother conveniently somehow forgets that she owned this house, he decides that he's gonna go fix it up and sell it and hopefully make enough money to get them out of that town. The main character in this one is one that is universally not liked, and I will admit that he was not one of my favorites. I don't think I hated him quite as much as everybody else did, but he's kind of an idiot. This one also had a ghost-like character that she was trying to do in a different way, and it just did not work for me. And I think that's going to be part of the problem with Darcy Coates' books, is I like a good old-fashioned haunting, and because she writes so many of those, it's like, okay, how many times can you do it differently without it either going way over the top, not working at all, or becoming tired? It's kind of hard to do. So The Haunting of Rookwood House, I think I'm just going to put in Stiff as a Board. Like, not my thing, but probably not like absolutely horrible, but not good either. And then we have Carol Haunt. Carol Haunt is one of the traditional haunted house type stories that actually really worked for me. I flew through this book. Follows our main character that is doing ghost tours at this haunted house, and a guy offers to pay her to have him and a crew come stay in this house, and she's supposed to be like the historical expert. And I had a great time with this. Up until probably the last 10% of the book, it was a 5-star read. The atmosphere was just cranking on up there. I really don't like the ending, but if we ignore the ending, because I really feel like I kind of should, considering my enjoyment for the rest of the book was so high, I think I'm gonna have to put this one fantastic. Like, it was solid. I really enjoyed this one. Then we have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix is a hit or miss author for me. For the most part, I just find generally okay. And that's kind of where My Best Friend's Exorcism ended up. This one is about two teenagers, and one of the teenagers, they're best friends, and one of them gets possessed by the devil, and the only person that believes her that something more is going on is her best friend, and it's about relationships, and it's really quirky, and it leans heavily into the 80s camp. And I don't mind 80s camp. I thought I did, but I don't. And this one I don't know, the way it was written was very juvenile, and it was supposed to be. It did everything it was supposed to do, but it had been hyped up so much for me that it fell flat. So I think I'm just gonna have to put it in Knocking to Be Let In or Kind of Ghoulish. It was just mostly okay. Next up we have Wolf Gone Wild by Juliet Cross, I believe. I can't see the author's name. Juliet Cross. This one is a paranormal romance. I read it for my Readers Choose My Paranormal Romance reading vlog, and I had a good time with this one. It follows a witch and her 3 sisters, or not 3, I think there's actually more than 3 sisters, and then a wolf that can no longer change into his wolf form, a werewolf. And so he goes to get this help of a curse breaker, and it's a romance. I didn't love this one as much as I was hoping to. It is very friends to lovers. It's very sunshine almost. I just didn't find either character to be overly compelling. The main character, female, is really, really nerdy. I can see how that would work for a lot of people. I just didn't absolutely love it, but I'm definitely interested in continuing this series. So I think I'm gonna have to put this one in Knocking to Be Let In or Kind of Ghoulish. Ha! I was able to change it. Woohoo! Okay, now I can quit saying that over and over again. All right, next we have Slewfoot by Brom. This was for my favorite booktubers choose my reads, and so was My Best Friend's Exorcism. Sorry, Olivia chose that one. Riley chose Slewfoot for me, and this one is set in kind of the Salem witch trials era. Think the movie The Witch or the book The Crucible. Kind of that vibes, a very similar story that you've probably read a bunch before. I did really like the way that this was written, and I thought the monster Slewfoot was really interesting. Abby was an interesting character to read from, but I just didn't feel like this book did anything particularly different. However, it made me like it despite the time period, and a lot of times, historically wise, I find this time period really interesting, but from a reading and entertainment point of view, not usually my thing. I don't really know why that is, and I ended up enjoying this one. So I think I'm gonna have to put it in Fantastic, just because I ended up enjoying this despite the fact that I really didn't think I was going to. Okay, then we have another Darcy, and that is The Whispering Dead. Okay. So first of all, I really wanted to love this book. Let me just start there. I had really high hopes for this one. It's about a girl that we open with her running through a forest, and she's lost all of her memories and then finds out that she can see ghosts, and she ends up in this really small town. It has a lot of the small town cozy mystery tropes and archetypes, which is fine, but it just leaned a little too heavily into that for me, and I don't think that would have bothered me, actually. I don't think that was the problem. This book had so many logic issues that it wasn't even funny, and we were constantly in the main character's head. So like Darcy would write a paragraph and then completely repeat everything she just said or everything that was inferred and do it as an inner monologue. And it just made it feel like she thought the reader was stupid or that she didn't have enough page count, and so she really wanted to put some more stuff in there so that she could have the page count, because this one's really, really short. And the main character has amnesia, but she can conveniently remember how to do things as long as it suits her needs. I don't know, logic in this was just way down at the bottom for me. I don't think that I'm going to continue in the series, so I think I have to put this one in Boo You Books. It just did not work for me, despite me really, really, really wanting it to. Then we have Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRoe. This one is one that I got off of the recommendation of Becca from Becca in the Books and Steph from Steph Loves, and they both gave it 5 stars. They absolutely loved it. It was for my Readers Choose My Paranormal Romance TBR. I had a really, really good time with this one. We have our main character who is kind of a supernatural investigator, podcaster, YouTuber kind of thing. She believes in the supernatural, but she's never really found the real thing because she isn't willing to just do whatever to try to get a lot of views. And she accidentally summons a demon. And this demon he was great. The demon was great. I absolutely loved Leon. I thought that he was a really good, brooding, badass kind of main character guy. I don't know. He's just the type that works for me. And this one does have some edge play. It's got a lot of trigger warnings. It's a dark, kinky romance, but it worked. The biggest problem that I actually had with this one was that I wanted less like erotic scenes and more about the world, because the plot, for shockingly, in a dark romance was really, really good. And I enjoyed it a lot. And so I was really hoping that we would get a little bit more of the plot in this because it is a really long book. But instead it was just sex scene after sex scene after sex scene, which is what a lot of people want. That's fine. But I don't know, I wanted more from it. And so I ended up giving this one a 4-star. I think I'm gonna have to put it in fantastic. I enjoyed it, didn't absolutely love it, but really enjoyed it. Then we have one that I kind of finished at the very tail end of October, so we're gonna include it in here even though the rest of the books in this vlog didn't make it into the October wrap up, and that's Please Join Us by Katharine McKenzie. This one was supposed to be a cult-like book about a lawyer that's really down on her luck, and she gets this invite into a prestigious society, and her husband's like, well, is it a cult? And she says, no, of course it is. And she's asked to cover up a murder, and so she wonders if she's bitten off more than she can chew. This one tried to do a lot. It tried to give some pretty good twists, but unfortunately, I was bored through most of this book. So by the time we got to the twist, I was just like, I don't really care. So really, this one's probably going to go in stiff as a board because it was just boring. It wasn't good. It wasn't even kind of good. It was just not good. So we're going to go in stiff as a board for that one. And then Old Country by Matt and Harrison Currie. This one I wanted to love. I had heard really, really good things about it, especially the audiobook. But if you saw my haunted house vlog, you know that I gave this one a 2-star. This follows a couple that doesn't like the hustle and bustle of the city. They've always wanted to get out, kind of strike out on their own, have their own farm, their own place to kind of manage, and they find this countryside that's being sold for super cheap. They decide to move there, but when they get there, the neighbor tells them that they have to follow all of these rules and rituals because there is a spirit living in the valley, and if they don't do this, bad things are going to happen. This one is one of those that tried to explain the wrong things and left the right things. Like, it had logic issues. I just didn't follow what we were explaining versus what we were just supposed to take on belief. The main characters were not engaging. They were annoying, but they also just were not engaging at all. This book does have some Native American influences, which might bother some people. I don't really know that I know enough about it to comment. But just the story in and of itself, I had a lot of logic issues with. I felt like there was a lot of plot holes, a lot of conveniences, and I was just bored. So because of that, do I put it in Boo You Books? Based on enjoyment alone, because we're not looking at any kind of technical here, I think it's going to go in Boo You Books. That's a sad day. We haven't had 100% That Witch yet. Okay. So then we have Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This was one of the ones I was the most excited to read. Gabby chose it for me. I have just kind of found that Alice Feeney's, for the most part, have gotten better with each one that I've read. And unfortunately, this one did not work. It's full of really unlikable characters, and not in a way that I like to read about them unlikable characters. They just were flat and horrible. This does have an isolated island setting, which I have really enjoyed, but at the same time, I'm kind of sick of seeing that. And Then There Were None, Agatha Christie inspired type read. It did take a little bit of a different take on it. It wasn't an exact copycat, but it also, I don't know, it didn't do enough different for me to love. Now, if you took the island setting and made it snowy, I would be a lot more in. I don't know why that is, but I've just read so many isolated island and Then There Were None retelling type books that this one really fell flat. There was also a twist that I'm not really sure how I feel about it. It was supposed to be super shocking, and I don't feel like it was super shocking, but I also don't know that Alice Feeney can pull off this kind of twist. It's something that she's not tried before, and I'm just not really sure that it worked for her. But it wasn't a bad book. Like, I didn't hate reading it, so I think I'm just gonna have to put that one in stiff as a board. It was okay, but it wasn't great. Small Town Big Magic by Hazel Beck. Well, out of all of the ones on this list, I think this is the only DNF. I was reading this one for my Cozy Witch reading vlog, which is going to be the next couple in this list, and it's the only one that I DNF'd. It was at the end of the 48-hour readathon. I was so tired, and the main character is completely insufferable. She's one of those main characters that feels like she's the only right one. Nobody else is right. She's the only person that can do anything because she's the only person that's going to do it right. And I don't mind those type of characters when they have development and they really learn and they prosper and they learn to lean on others, yada, yada, yada. But she never did that. She was just obnoxious. And there was an attempt at a romance in here that could not have been more stale if she had been trying to write a stale romance. It just did not work. The world building I could have really enjoyed. It's about a small town. This girl doesn't realize she has magic and she's saved by magic and has to kind of wrap her brain around it. But it also has Gilmore Girl type vibes. So I could have loved this, but the elements behind it just were not working at all. And so this one's going to have to go in Boo You Books because it was the only DNF. Then we have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This is one that I had heard so many good things about. Everybody was raving about it, and I had a good time with it. We've got a witch that is part of the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and they can only congregate for short periods of time because magic is attracted to witches in large groups. And she's found on the internet by these people that actually have 3 orphaned witches staying with them, and they're trying to get them to learn about their powers and how they're gonna all kind of live and grow up together, but they don't want them separated. So they bring her in to kind of teach them magical ways and kind of be like a house mom essentially. And it's just very wholesome. It's a good time. It's cute. It's sweet. It doesn't do anything crazy. It doesn't really have a lot of plot, which was a problem for me, but it was pretty good. So I think I'm going to have to put that one in kind of ghoulish because it was good. There wasn't anything inherently wrong with it, but it wasn't something that I just completely loved. And then because we're on this kick, I'm also just going to switch over to The Witches of Moonshine Manor by Bianca Mathis. This one is about actually a bunch of older witches. They're living in this house and the town has decided that they're going to tear it down to build some kind of like men's world or something. And they're trying to come together to raise the money to keep their home. This one is very women-powered. It's very bond and relationships. It's also got a character that's very, very focused on figuring out who you are and who you are meant to be. It's got some non-binary characters in it. So it was doing a lot of good things, but it was not at all what I was told it would be based on the blurb. I was expecting a heist and, you know, this cozy mystery mixed with some action, and we really, really didn't get that. It was a much more slow, character-driven story, and I didn't care about the characters enough to engage and make that worth it. So this one's just gonna have to kind of go in stiff as a board. It was just boring for me. It didn't work. And then the last 2 reads of the month. We're going to go with Feed first because I'm going to save Silver Under Nightfall was actually the very last book that I read in October, so we'll save it for last. Feed by Mira Graham. If you know me, you know that I had read Into the Drowning Deep several years ago, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it since I read it. Because the way that it has so much science in it almost made it feel so real that it's like, okay, what is out there? Could there be something that we don't know about that is terrifying, like killer mermaids? So when I went into Feed, I was expecting it to be very science heavy. I was expecting it to be like a science fiction leans horror about zombies. Because this is following a world where scientists tried to create a cure for the common cold along with something else. And these 2 cures, when they got into the same individual, somehow had some sort of interaction that created zombies. And the main character and her family are living in this world, but they are news reporters. So this one leaned a lot less on the sci-fi and leaned pretty heavily into the media type of thing. And I didn't think it was going to work, but it really, really did. I was super engaged with this one. Even though I was bored at times and nothing really was happening, I was still so intrigued that I wanted to know what was going to happen next. And this author did something that I think may make me not want to read the later books in the series, but I also appreciated it so very much because most authors are not willing to go there. And she was willing to go there, and I really, really appreciated that. So for that reason, I think I'm going to have to put it in 100% That Witch. I just had a great time with it. And then last but not least, we have Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chupeco. This one is a urban fantasy, or not urban, a paranormal like fantasy about vampires. It is not urban, so it's not set in our world. It's set in a very fantastical world, so it reads like a high fantasy, but has more paranormal elements with vampires in it. Our main character is not a super badass. He is a really, really good, I think they call them reapers. I can't remember. He's a really good reaper, but he is shunned by everyone because of the way that he was born. And he just kind of always feels very left out by himself. We do have a polyamorous relationship in this. I did like the way that that was done. I was much more engaged in the beginning half than I was the second half when the romance became more prominent. We lost a little bit of the world building and I started to not be quite as engaged, but if you are a more character driven reader or you like more romance, I could see where it would be the opposite for you. So I had a great time with this one, but my interest did wane a little bit toward the latter half. So I think for this one, I'm gonna have to put it in fantastic. I had a great time with it, but it was not 100% that witch. Okay guys, so that's my October tier ranking my spooky reads wrap up thing. Really quickly before you go though, I wanted to tell you about Javy coffee concentrate. I've been using this for a couple of weeks now. It's just a concentrate that you pour over in hot water, cold water, milk, whatever you want to do, creamer, whatnot. And this has been really, really, really good for me. I've enjoyed it at work because I don't necessarily have like a Keurig coffee maker that sits behind me. So I can literally just pour in like 1 or 2 teaspoons of this and some creamer and I'm good to go. If you guys want to try this, because it really has a good flavor and I've actually enjoyed it a lot. This is not like a paid promotion, although if you use my link down in the description box, I'll get a little bit of commission as well as you will get 20% off of your order. So I will link all of that down in the description box for you guys in case you want to give this a try. So I think that that is everything for my October wrap up. I cannot believe that it is already the middle of November. Spooky season came and flew away, and I feel like I did get a little bit burned out during spooky season, and now that it's November, I'm like, give me all the horror, because of course, why not? So anyway, I hope you guys had a fantastic month. If you liked this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you wanna, and all of the links to my Patreon, Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, all of that is linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you had a great time, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!